What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is April 20th of 2021. Well, folks, I hope you are having a fantastic day wherever you are. And in today's video, I want to dive straight into talking about why I'm not so fearful of crypto markets at the moment, even with the recent correction. But outside of this as well, after analyzing a decent amount of metrics, why I'm confident we're setting up for a major super cycle for mid and small cap altcoins as we get closer and closer towards the later phases of the altcoin cycle that kicked off at the beginning of this year. And in doing so, I'm going to talk about one small cap cryptocurrency that I genuinely actually believe has some potential to disrupt the crypto space. It's a project I've been working with over the last few months, and I'm really excited to dive into it, guys, so stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the broad picture here first and foremost. Obviously, the market right now is in a general sea of red over the last 24 hours or in the last 7 days. We can see over the last 7 days, there's very few exceptions here that are actually in the green. Most are in red territory here, selling off of the broader altcoin market. But we do have one single anomaly here outside of a few plays that are still holding up quite nicely and have been able to weigh off some of the sell side pressure. The major one being Dogecoin here. It's now the 5th largest cryptocurrency, and it's at a $52 billion market cap. So this market is seeing sizable valuation and liquidity that, again, has gone up substantially over the last few weeks. And we're going to dive back into Dogecoin because I think it is a sign of the times to come here. And again, as one player rises up in the market, eventually when things come falling down, not all of that liquidity is going to leave the market. It's not simply people going back to cash and exiting the market. And it's a very important topic we need to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive straight into it, guys. First off, taking a look at Bitcoin and analyzing here, right? Guys, I'll be honest, there's not much of a need for me to do any kind of short-term TI here. To be completely frank, right now, the chart actually looks quite nice. We had a double bottom here, actually a slightly higher low. So again, we had a low here, a low here, and a low here. So we're actually sitting in higher lows here. It's really a matter of, I think for me personally, getting confident that Bitcoin's going to revisit close back up to its all-time highs. We'd have to break above $57,500, right? This is where we generally faced resistance. But overall, Bitcoin's holding up quite nicely, right? This isn't the period of time where you just want to absolutely freak out here about how Bitcoin has declined. And what's really important to note here that I think is so critical to focus on is what's going on in the altcoin space. Because we can see here that ETH is holding up actually quite nicely against Bitcoin. It's exactly where it was less than a week ago on April 14th. And where it was here back on April 18th, and here on April 17th, and here on April 16th, right? It's holding up quite nicely to Bitcoin. And we tend to see within these corrections, when Bitcoin pulls back, that altcoins fare even worse, right? They tend to really get pulled down in this case. And a lot of the gains start to fall down with Bitcoin, right? The gains of these coins like Ethereum. But again, taking a look at the more longer term time frame, as we've pointed out, it's midway through its next upward swing here, right? It's been continuously setting in these higher lows and higher highs. I'll even take it to the 3-day here so it's a little bit more clear, right? Since back here in September of 2019, we've been on this general uptrend here, right? And through some major periods of time like the summer altcoin cycle and even the altcoin cycle that we kicked off here, back here actually, in December, right? We've had some major upswings here for Ethereum. We're still setting in those higher lows and higher highs. And this leads us into talking about the broader analysis of altcoin dominance. Looking at the hourly chart here again, really not bad. We're pretty much where we were on April 16th, April 18th, right? Dominance here is relatively unchanged. Now, it is fair to note here that as the broader market has pulled back, someone's capturing that value, and it's obviously Dogecoin at the moment. Hands down, guys, right? I think many people, including myself, have been thrown away and completely thrown off by what's been going on with Dogecoin. But in the broader altcoin sense, right, even considering the Dogecoin anomaly, altcoins are still doing pretty well, right? Again, not that negative here. Now, what's really interesting here, and we're kind of going through it live, in my opinion, as we're talking right here, notice how Dogecoin here is starting to decline here, right? We just built a double top here as everyone's focusing in on one specific crypto. Everyone's FOMOing in. They're catching on to the idea that, oh, Dogecoin's going to go to $1. It's going to go to $5, $10. Who knows? I'm not here to say that it can't reach those valuations. I'm not here to be a bear on Dogecoin. It's obviously broken past any normal expectations for crypto markets. But what's interesting here is that as I notice that this candle's pulled back, and I can see it here on the sidebar, take a look at Chainlink. Boom, pop off here. 64,000 sats to 67,000 sats, right? Take a look here as well at BNB over the hour, right? Holding up here nicely, starting to continue higher here, recovering nicely. Aave as well, starting to recoup here as Doge is starting to, again, top out, right? We're seeing this in a variety of plays here, and I can say that probably a lot of these plays on the right, I'm just honestly going to click at random here because, again, I don't really have any specific coins that I'd say like, oh, for sure is definitely going to do better. But you can see Uni, for example, bottoming out on its support line here, starting to get green traction. Omise Go, right? Another rebound here. So what you're seeing here is that as Dogecoin starts to pull back here, and I'll go back here to the chart just to emphasize it, you start to see a lot of the cryptocurrencies across the board that, again, we're losing some of that market share, now starting to regain it as Doge is looking like it's very clearly double topping here, right? So all of these points here are things that we have to consider. Again, the idea here that as altcoins are generally going low in this case, we have to see, is someone stealing that valuation or is it really liquidity exiting the market? And to be frank here, it's people flowing capital, selling their positions into this ultimate altcoin that just has to go up in the eyes of many investors, right? And to be fair, it doesn't have to just go up. So this actually leads us to talking about preparing for that altcoin cycle, preparing for that next surge of liquidity as Dogecoin possibly starts to see some of that billions of dollars of valuation, the billions of dollars that have gone into this excessively risky cryptocurrency and has overinflated the value. A lot of that value is now going to shift out as the order books on the market are finalized, people who got an earlier profit taking, and they're going on to the next venture. So what are some of the focus points we need to keep in mind? Well, first off, I'm going to say very clearly, guys, Dogecoin is a sign of very, very high level risk taking here. And no matter if this sells off a lot today or tomorrow or in the next week, as this continues to probably decline sometime here in the inevitable future, what we're going to see is a lot of value go into more high-risk plays, right? It tends to be that the money flow cycle in this case goes from kind of the Bitcoin to large caps to mid caps and small caps. And now that Doge is technically large cap, is the fifth largest crypto by market cap, we are now going to see probably a ton of this liquidity start to circulate out into the DeFi space, enterprise blockchain, etc. One of the cryptocurrencies that I want to talk about today is one of the 3 projects I actually stood by as an advisor all the way back since 2017. And I hope for those of you who have been in the crypto space by now for a couple years, you guys know that that's a pretty low amount comparative to kind of the threshold that some people have in crypto. Right? I've worked with 3 projects in this case. I worked with Unibright, I worked with Warp Finance, and Benchmark Protocol. And Benchmark Protocol is what we're going to be talking about today. It's a really exciting project, very much in line with a previous project I was a big fan of in this case, which is Ampleforth, a rebasing currency that supply adjusts basically up and down depending on specified market dynamics in order to provide some form of stability. Now, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit here, and as Dogecoin continues to decline, it makes me even more inclined to kind of talk about this narrative of the altcoin cycle here, right? And how we have to start focusing on some other plays here. We don't have a lot of time, in my opinion. So first off here, let's just go ahead and run through, for those of you who don't know about Benchmark Protocol, and then want to dive into a really exciting announcement. Benchmark Protocol, or Benchmark Protocol.finance, is a DeFi protocol similar to Ampleforth in this case that provides the capacity to be able to own a stake within a given network in this case. So if I own 1% of the Benchmark token supply, I'm always going to own 1% of the network. But at the same time, the supply will increase or decrease depending on a peg towards the SDR. And the SDR is an instrument, a financial instrument or asset issued by the International Monetary Fund. It's a basket of currencies. Think of it like an index with the dollar, the euro, the Great British Pound, the Japanese yen, and the Chinese yuan, all these major world currencies, in order to have your wealth pegged to something that's not purely just a single currency like the dollar. It allows you to have exposure towards a whole basket of global currencies to hedge global volatility with any specific currency. And this is a big difference point from that of Ampleforth and all the other rebasing currencies. They're always all pegged to the dollar. And what's really cool about Benchmark is it's really the first major stablecoin within the cryptocurrency space or stability-based asset that's pegged to something other than specifically the dollar. And I think that that's really cool. And it's important to understand that when you own the Benchmark protocol, your supply can increase or decrease depending on how that peg is correlated with the actual underlying price of the asset. So if the price goes above, in this case, per marked token, in this case, if it goes above the actual peg of around $1.40, right? If that's the case, you're going to get an increase across the board in all wallets of marked token holders. And vice versa, if it goes below the peg, you get a decrease in the supply, cutting demand and driving price back up. It's a similar mechanism to that of MakerDAO, a lot of other simple DeFi protocols out there, or similar DeFi protocols in the market that offer that same kind of rebasing functionality or an incentive mechanism for price to go back to a specified peg. Now, there's also other factors here that play into benchmark protocol and its peg, such as for example, the effects of the VIX on the benchmark protocol when there are spikes in the volatility index in traditional equity markets. That increases the supply of benchmark tokens. And this is really, I think, built for the long term if benchmark becomes a massive asset, because you're going to need to pull from market indicators that showcase when volatility arises. And when we can pull from those volatility indexes that there is volatility, we flood the market with more stability. We put more supply out there so that there's an abundance of stability. That's the general goal in this case. Now, again, as it's an early on concept and it is a small cap cryptocurrency, we're going to have to see how this is going to play out long term. But overall, if you guys are interested to learn how the benchmark protocol actually works, highly recommend you check out their YouTube channel or their website. They've got a video that they just recently put together for the benchmark protocol that explains how it actually works. It's really well put together, only about 3 minutes. But overall here, guys, I want to visualize something here. And again, this is going to kind of play into the catalyst here from my point here about altcoin markets. Dogecoin has gone from around a $200-300 million cryptocurrency back here in the fall to over $52 billion in valuation. A massive leapfrog in new liquidity and valuation that is just ready and ripe to go into other plays in the market. All this centralization of volume and liquidity and speculation is now going to start circulating elsewhere, right? Something like this cannot continue going up vertically. It's not to say that Doge won't have a pullback and won't continue climbing higher. But again, guys, I'm just going to be very clear with you here as we go into talking again about the broader market, the benchmark protocol. Right? You're buying Dogecoin far beyond the general norm for historic highs. Right? This is a ton of valuation that is set to go out into a variety of plays here. All the kind of trading volume in the altcoin space has circulated into one crypto, and sooner or later it's going to pop. It's going to flood out into a variety of other plays, and you're seeing that play out on the shorter term timeframes that we just talked about. And there's plays, for example, like Benchmark Protocol, which again, I'm not going to tell you guys to go out and buy it and stuff. I've been invested in Benchmark with my own capital in this case. And again, as I mentioned, I am an advisor, but I invested in it before I became an advisor. I like what they're doing. Whereas Ampleforth personally failed me in a lot of ways. I still own a position in Ampleforth. They're just not fast to move, in my opinion. They've gotten really comfortable. They went down the traditional VC route. Benchmark Protocol is a fair launch protocol. They're focused around community engagement, giving the vast majority of tokens to community participants, right? And what's really cool here is not only for me does the technical setup look really nice personally. Again, you guys know I'm a little bit biased because I do have an allocation in this case through my own personal investments. But outside of this as well, I just purely like the chart here, and I love the fundamentals. I love the developments that are going on for Benchmark Protocol. And one of the big ones that I want to spend some time to talk about today that I think is really important to talk about is what's going on within the benchmark marketplace. Now, some of you might have heard a little bit about this here. This is a development that's been hinted and kind of talked about for those of you who are active within the benchmark ecosystem. And I'll try to make it so my webcam doesn't get in the way. But overall here, the benchmark marketplace is something that the team is very excited on. They've been working on really behind the scenes, and they're planning to launch in Q2. And that is an actual peer-to-peer lending place, not only to allow for the use of marked token as collateral, but to allow people to use a variety of cryptocurrencies to lock them up as collateral and allow for the ability for both lenders and borrowers to interact in a peer-to-peer fashion to conduct cryptocurrency lending and borrowing. And this is really exciting stuff. Whereas many of you are probably familiar with compound finance, Aave protocol, right? There's a lot of major protocols out there in the DeFi space that focus on very generalized lending, where there are adjusted interest rates for both borrowing and lending depending on the supply and demand dynamics. And this system is great in a lot of ways, but it doesn't allow for much customization. And what's really cool about the benchmark protocol through this system, through this new marketplace that they're building, it's an entire protocol in and of itself, in my opinion. What this allows for is for anyone to basically list up collateral in this case, or on the other end, in this case, list up an opportunity to lend out cryptocurrencies requiring specified collateral. So you can choose as the lender what kind of collateral you expect or accept in this case, how much capital you have available for borrowers, and you get to set the terms and compete with other participants. Right? Let's say someone out there is willing to make a loan similar to mine. Let's say I wanted to lend out, for example, maybe 10,000 MARK tokens, right? I might require a specified type of collateral, such as wrapped Bitcoin or in this case, wrapped Ethereum, right? Whatever collateral I might require. And maybe there's someone over there who's doing the exact same thing. They're charging 12%. I might want to charge 10%. And what you get out of this is not only the ability for people to have almost a near unlimited level of customization with their risk profile and potential reward profile, but outside of this as well, it allows for a competitive marketplace to flourish and a clean, simplified UX here that can do a major impact on the crypto lending and borrowing space, driving down the rates in this case that lenders expect to earn in this case, but also borrowers, finding equilibrium and cutting out the middleman. We don't need a bank in the middle anymore. That's a very, very critical thing here, right? So at a protocol level, we're really interacting on a peer-to-peer basis, right? Similar to compound finance as well as Aave in that regard, that you're not interacting with some kind of third party here, some middleman in the process. But it's truly peer-to-peer, which opens up an opportunity for so many different listings and opportunities, right? And this is another screenshot here of like the personal dashboard. You can see that the UX is really clean here. Again, you can overall see your positions that you have in the market, and overall connect your wallet as you would with the normal protocol. But what I really like about this, and I want to give hats off to the team for this, is that they're starting to explore a very important part of the lending space in DeFi. And that's going to be pushing us slowly but steadily towards not only allowing to use non-stable coin assets or dollar stable coin assets like the benchmark token, right? Being able to have something that's pegged to other types of assets as collateral. But a really important thing here that I think this is going to pressure us forward to, and I have no confirmation of this, but I do say that I think the benchmark protocol and many other teams are going to have to start exploring down this route, and that is under-collateralized lending, right? And I think, again, as we get more towards a competitive marketplace where we can build up competitive interest rates and choose different collateralization ratios, specified amount of collateral required, or types of collateral, this is going to set the stage where we can start to build out models. Certain LPs or lenders in this case can start to build out models and systems where they can start to mitigate risk and they can build out their own systems. Again, it's the very early days here, guys. I mean, again, as we're taking a look here, this is the benchmark protocol's market cap divided by Bitcoin's market cap, right? And the reason you have to do that is because it's a rebasing currency. But if we just take a look at benchmark protocol's market capitalization here, it's only 28 million in this case, in the sense of market cap. A fair launch cryptocurrency with a novel use case for rebasing. And outside of that as well, its own custom marketplace coming down the line. A lot of these projects, yeah, sure, they'll get talked about, like Aave gets talked about in Compound and Uniswap. Yeah, they're far along the process. They found their USP, they're established, they have users, etc. Benchmark Protocol is one of those early players that, again, is one of the few companies in this space, or per se projects, bear in mind in that case, that I actually stand by in this case, guys. And yeah, I'm proud to say I'm an advisor, I'm working with them, and that I really stand by what they're doing, right? So again, guys, I'm interested to hear what you guys think. If you guys agree that this is really cool, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, but also if you have any critiques on it, if you have any questions, and I highly recommend you engage with the community for Benchmark. They have a great ecosystem that you guys can engage with. And again, being a fair and launch crypto, I think you guys will really like a lot of what they're doing. But again, I don't mean to just solely focus here on Benchmark Protocol. It's a shining example, in my opinion, of the times to come. The technical setup here already looks really good, whether you're looking at market cap or if you're dividing it by Bitcoin. But we've got basically a ticking time bomb here with Doge, in my opinion. And I think it could be the one thing, and this kind of leads me to one thing I meant to actually chat about earlier, but it's actually probably more mature to talk about it here, which is that even though we're against the line of resistance here for the altcoin cycle, this was our expectations for the second half of the altcoin cycle, we may very well pop up against this point of resistance that usually weighs us down. If not, we are going to see that, the valuation start to go out of Dogecoin, right? So dominance isn't really dropping, right? It's going out of Doge and going to a variety of other places. And for small caps and mid caps to 5 or 10x, generally speaking, in the market, it is not going to take up as much dominance here as it did for when all the larger cap plays and Dogecoin were gaining here, right? So again, this is a very, very critical part here that, again, I just want to talk about broadly speaking in the market, which is that, again, it might be that dominance is topped. We might have more room to go. But either way, even if we were to start pulling back today, it doesn't mean that altcoins in general are going to be absolutely losing out, right? We have to keep over the idea that liquidity and value can circulate in the market, right? So again, I'm interested to hear what you guys are watching. If you guys have some altcoins that you think I should keep on my radar, feel free to share them down below in the comments. I'll take a look through them. If you do recommend an altcoin, though, in this case, I always like to check to see if people are watching like the whole video. Put like a hand raise emoji in this case, or like the 2 hands in that case. I don't know, something gimmicky like that, so I'll know you watched to the end of the video. But I digress, guys. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like. I always love to share with you guys what I'm spotting in the market. Whether you agree or disagree, I think it's healthy to have a variety of different opinions, and I hope that my opinion can help you guys in your own due diligence in making your own decisions at the end of the day. Again, none of this is financial advice, guys. It's just simply what I'm excited about in the market. All right, everyone, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, like I said, please consider dropping a like. And until the next video, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everyone.